Hollywood is mourning the loss of actress and singer Hayden Panettiere, who just died at the age of 36 years old. A performer who has become familiar face to millions through television, movies, and music. Panettiere's career began when she was just a child, eventually making her roles one of the most recognizable youngest stars of her generation. Today on Viral, we remember Hayden Panettiere, her life, her career, her struggles, and the legacy she leaves behind. Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of Viral. I'm your host as always, Kendra Dix here. Glad you joined us here on Viral. Join in the conversation. Don't forget to use the hashtag Viral here on Connect. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe is caring. Tell a friend. Call a friend. Hit that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing. Hayden Panettiere was born August 21st, 1989 in New York. She entered the entertainment industry at a very young age, appearing in commercials and television before moving into acting roles. One of the earliest movies that introduced her to a wide audience was Remember the Titans. I can't remember. Well, she appeared alongside Denzel Washington and Will Patton, but it was just television that eventually made Hayden a household name. In 2006, Hayden landed a role that would ever change her career forever, Claire Bennet on NBC's Heroes. Her character was a cheerleader with extraordinary ability to regenerate after being injured. The show's famous line, "Save the cheerleader, save the world," became part of the television culture. And Hayden's performance turned her into one of the biggest young stars on television. But Hayden just wasn't Claire Bennet. She continued being her diverse career in films and television, appearing in projects including The Ice Princess, Bring It On, All or Nothing, in the Scream franchise. She returned as Kirby Reed in Scream 4, giving longtime fans the opportunity to see one of her most beloved characters return nearly a decade after her original appearance.
Very challenging story. You and Vlad were together about 5 years before you got pregnant. You got pregnant in 5 years of dating on again, off again. You have one child. She's now 11.
She is. Yes.
You write in the book about realizing for her betterment, she needed to go and live with her father after you broke up and you gave over custody. You talk about it in the book. Let's play the clip.
I remember every second of that day. Every second. No mother could forget a single thing about the day she signed her child away. I clenched my jaw tight, willing myself not to shed one tear in front of these people. I heard a whisper, then a laugh. How dare they? I thought. It was the worst moment of my life, and someone was laughing.
You gave up custody because after having your daughter, you experienced postpartum depression, things spiraled, alcohol, and you and Vlad came to the realization you could not be together, but also for the safety of Kaya, she needed to go and be with him. We talked about how adults did not protect you. In this moment, you were trying to do what was never given to you, which was to protect her.
Generally, you either tend to become your parent or you go in the opposite direction. And I mean, becoming a mom, even regardless of the postpartum depression, my want to fiercely to protect her from what I went through overpowered any need that I had or want that I had as a mother, and it unfortunately had to. I'm very grateful to say that I have an incredible relationship with my daughter.
I mean, could you have ever imagined in that moment you describe in the book of saying you have to go and live with your dad, to now fast forward, she's watching your movies, she's appreciating your journey, and she's a fan.
And she's somehow been so resilient. I mean, this child has lived through a war. too. And I mean, I remember that day and flying immediately over there because her father and her uncle were on the front lines
In Ukraine.
In Ukraine. And I was like, if something happens, I need to be there to make sure my child is processing this in the healthiest way possible. I mean, this has got to be so overwhelming.
What do you want her to think of you?
I want to be an example of a powerful, strong, brave female woman, and one that can say no and put up personal boundaries and not get taken advantage of. And I would burn the world down for her.
You talk a lot about these men in Hollywood approaching you and being inappropriate. The interesting part of meeting Vlad at a time when, yet again, there was a moment, Hollywood party, young, beautiful woman, and some person prowling.
Not just one person prowling. I realized over time that it was a very, very big crew. I think I gravitated eventually to how safe Vlad made me feel, and there was no inappropriateness. There was no crossing a line without my permission.
There's a good person out there, right?
Yeah,
without an agenda.
Chivalry is not dead, and there was such an incredible respect for each other that developed. And a support system, and I think my being with him actually ended up protecting me because people feared crossing that line. But I've been through so much at that point.
And I thought about you when I was walking out this morning, because here you have, we're in 2026, Britney Spears in the tabloids. The Hunt is not a magazine anymore, but it's all over social media.
Right.
When you watch her going through this round again, and you are trying to heal, I see.
It breaks my heart. I mean, it breaks my heart. The more I started to share, the more people within the industry that grew up would share, that come up to me and go, "This is what I went through," and they would share it with me, and I realized how unalone I was in the experience.
When you look at now, as I said, 2026, I walked in, there are articles yet again on Britney and her struggles, and people taking pieces from your memoir, again, it seems, for profit, for tabloid profit. How does it feel to see her in that situation again? What are people not learning from what they've done to you and other young women these years?
That you can't go back in time and erase what you've done, and the pain that you've caused people, and you literally broke somebody. You broke somebody. You damaged somebody. You ruined psyche and confidence and beauty and talent, and it was all for 1 week. You were the most beautiful woman in the world, and the next week it was like the higher they lifted you, the farther you had to fall.
You write about the book Life Quakes, which I like that phrase, by the way. You said it's not about losses. When it's tumultuous times in your life, and you've had some, you call them life quakes.
Life quakes, yeah.
And you get through it how?
You get through it by time, finding good therapists, being willing to reflect, check in with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, really do the work.
But let's talk about your life. You're born, your mom jokes that you came out of the womb saying, "Thanks, I got it from here."
Yeah.
Which is sort of a telltale about, you were feisty from the very beginning.
Yeah.
You say by the time you were 5, you had done 50 commercials. Your mom, from what I read, also was an actress and seemed to take a lot of joy and pride out of what you did too. But it also created conflicts between the two of you. It's complicated, the relationship with your mom.
When your mother is chosen to take the 8-month-old baby to the audition rooms, into those audition rooms, and it went from there and progressed into 50 commercials by the time I was 5. I was on a soap opera by 4 years old, and it said it never stopped, and it was every moment on set. I didn't care about anybody else's opinion but my mom's,
yeah.
because I knew that if she was unhappy with my performance in any way, that the rest of the day was going to be ruined.
Yes.
It was going to be a very bad day.
And your mom was tough. You had a lot of, this is what got me, your praise for your over-the-top performances, which you think is a good thing. But what happened when you get the praise for being over the top in your performances?
Yeah, that's something that I realized, that just I had been crying. Once people figured out that I could cry on cue the way that I did, it was in everything, literally every scene. And it went from being a kid and having to imagine just that your pet passed away or something. But then as I got older, the imagery became darker and darker and darker, and the emotion that I had to hold within me in order to get those trigger tears going, and it became harder and harder to jump out of it. I didn't know where my character started and where I ended,
and where it began.
Just enmeshed.
But what was interesting to me, Hayden, you said you began to associate those over-top performances
with praise.
Catastrophe with adoration.
Yeah.
That had to be confusing as a young child.
Very confusing. Very confusing. I mean, there I was, feeling just this deep sadness. And then the people were so happy afterwards. And you do that over such a long period of time, years after years, that of course it's going to take its toll on you emotionally. I was like, this isn't healthy.
Yes.
There's no way that this is not taken, and it was. I had to find the right therapist in order to make the proper connections
and
realize, to realize and to try to heal. I worked so hard to create this incredible life and career, and I burnt it all to the ground.
Hayden Panettiere heartbreakingly declared she had a lot more life to live in one of her final interviews before her sudden death, aged 36. The hero star spoke optimistically about a new chapter ahead after finally feeling she had escaped years of, quote, darkness and personal turmoil. Just 3 months before her death, Panettiere sat down with Jay Shetty while promoting her deeply personal memoir titled This Is Me, A Reckoning. During the podcast interview, the actress reflected on finally reaching a brighter place after years marked by addiction, abuse, mental health struggles, and devastating loss.
I can feel all the possibility, all the possibilities, all the exciting possibilities. I feel like I have a lot more life to live. I worked so hard to create this incredible life and career, and I burnt it all to the ground.
Hayden Panettiere heartbreakingly declared she had a lot more life to live in one of her final interviews before her sudden death, aged 36. The hero star spoke optimistically about a new chapter ahead after finally feeling she had escaped years of, quote, darkness and personal turmoil. Just 3 months before her death, Panettiere sat down with Jay Shetty while promoting her deeply personal memoir titled This Is Me, A Reckoning. During the podcast interview, the actress reflected on finally reaching a brighter place after years marked by addiction, abuse, mental health struggles, and devastating loss.
I can feel all the possibility, all the possibilities, all the exciting possibilities. I feel like I have a lot more life to live.
Then came along the major chapter in her career, Nashville. Hayden played Juliette Barnes, a talented but troubled country singer, music superstar. The role allowed her to combine acting, singing, and it became one of her defining performances of her career. But Hayden was successful professionally, but her personal life was often much more complicated. Through the years, Hayden publicly discussed some of the extreme difficulty experiences. She spoke about postpartum depression following the birth of her daughter. She also opened about her struggles with alcohol and substance abuse, and her efforts to seek treatment and rebuild her life. And in 2023, Hayden suffered another devastating loss when her younger brother, actor Jansen Panettiere, died at the age of 28. Hayden later spoke about the tremendous impact of his death had on her. Then this year, she shared even more her story during her memoir, This Is Me, A Reckoning, giving an audience a deep look at the woman behind the celebrity. And now the entertainment world is dealing with shocking news of Hayden's death. Hayden died on August 16, 2026 at the age of 36. According to reports, she was found unresponsive at a residence in Greenville, South Carolina. Emergency responders attempted life-saving measures, but she was pronounced dead. Her father, actor Alan Panettiere, confirmed her death through her representative. At this time, authorities have said that there were no intentional signs of foul play. However, the investigation is still ongoing, and this is important. An official cause of death has not yet been established. There have been reports speculating around the circumstances of her death, but those reports should not be treated as confirmation until authorities release the original findings. At 36 years old, Hayden's story is just ultimately about much more than her circumstances surrounding her death. It is about an actress who grew up in front of the world, a performer who became a television star, a woman who experienced ordinary success, but also openly confronted the very same painful chapter of her life, and someone who continued trying to sell her story on her own terms. Let's hear our very own Bob Evans. Bob, take it away.
Hollywood is mourning the shocking loss of actress Hayden Panettiere, who has died at just 36 years old. From her breakout role as Claire Bennet on NBC's Heroes to her unforgettable performance as Juliette Barnes on Nashville, Panettiere built a career that made her a recognizable face around the world. She also appeared in films including Remember the Titans and Scream 4, later returning as Kirby Reed in Scream VI. But behind the fame was a very personal journey. Hayden openly discussed addiction, postpartum depression, motherhood, and the devastating loss of her younger brother, Jansen Panettiere. Now, following her death in South Carolina, questions remain about exactly what happened. Authorities have reported no initial signs of foul play, but an official cause of death has not yet been determined. Viral remembers Hayden Panettiere, her life, her career, and the legacy she leaves behind.
Thank you, Bob. And like you said, Hayden Panettiere, from Claire Bennet to Juliette Barnes to Kirby Reed, Hayden Panettiere lived behind the characters that millions of people remember. Her career crossed generations, willingness to discuss difficult subjects also helped her story make larger than Hollywood. Let's hear an outpouring of love and support. Let's hear what you people had to say on what the people say.
I am devastated to say that TMZ is reporting that Hayden Panettiere has passed away at the age of 36. My heart goes out to her family and friends and her fans all over the world. Rest in peace, Hayden.
Hayden Panettiere passed away. What is happening? So yesterday, the 16th, around 1:50 p.m. Eastern Time, EMS responded to reports about an unresponsive woman. They get there, they try to do resuscitative measures. She's pronounced dead at the scene. The unresponsive woman, Hayden Panettiere. Right now, we don't know anything. We don't know cause of death. Police at this time are not suspecting foul play. The last couple of years, she's been very vulnerable and very vocal about her issues with substance abuse in the past, her custody issues with her daughter, her battle with postpartum depression. She had just released her memoir, This Is Me, A Reckoning. She was on the up and up. She was doing very well. She was back in the acting game, getting a new rhythm. She and I were round about the same age, so I watched her grow up. I've been a fan for a very long time, okay? We're talking Guiding Light. When I was going through my General Hospital phase, I remember her being on episodes of Guiding Light and watching her every so often. She did a lot of voice work. Probably her biggest voice project was Kingdom Hearts. She worked with that project for several years. She was also Dot in A Bug's Life. She was a voice in the movie Dinosaur. Probably one of her most famous young acting roles was the role of Cheryl Yost in Remember the Titans. She did 2 episodes of Law & Order SVU, one where she played a rock star's daughter, another where she played the dead girl's best friend. That episode was wild. She had a really cool run of movies in the early 2000s. Like, she was on her game. So Remember the Titans was 2000. She did Raising Helen with Kate Hudson, Joe Somebody with Tim Allen, Racing Stripes with Frankie Muniz, Ice Princess with Michelle Trachtenberg. My fun favorite little random fact about Hayden Panettiere is that she has curly hair. She has beautiful, luscious, curly locks, but she started straightening her hair when she was younger. I'd say right around the time she started doing press for an HBO movie called Normal. Why I remember that, I don't know. Scream 4, Scream 6. Her last on-screen role was a movie released earlier this year. I believe you can rent it on Amazon Prime called Sleepwalker. Heroes, Nashville. We could be here all day. One of the best smiles in Hollywood, like the kind of smile that just lights up somebody's entire face. Rest in peace, my girl.
Chismosas, in case you guys haven't already seen, Hayden Panettiere has tragically passed away, and we need to talk about it because this is crazy. Now here's the tea, Chismosas. If you guys didn't already know who Hayden Panettiere is, then you guys have probably been living under a rock, because Hayden has been acting since she was very young. She was on Heroes, she was on Bring It On All or Nothing, she was a part of the Scream franchise, and she was very much active in acting, which makes all of this even more surprising. And I hadn't seen any of this at all day yesterday, so I'm assuming this probably didn't come out until later in the day, and that's when I found out. And she was only 36 years old. Now, initially when the news came out, nobody actually knew what happened to her. They were just saying that she tragically passed away. But now it looks like we have a little bit more information. Apparently, they're saying somebody close to Hayden found her unresponsive, called the ambulance, and they went and they tried to resuscitate her. But unfortunately, it looks like she had gone into cardiac arrest and she passed away on the scene. This is incredibly heartbreaking, because if you guys don't already know, not long ago, we were seeing Hayden all over the place. She had done a bunch of different interviews. She had just released a memoir. And apparently the memoir was very explosive. It was called This Is Me, A Reckoning. And she talks about childhood exploitation that she suffered when she was a young actress. She talked about her substance abuse. She talked about a million different things. And it just feels like crazy timing, because she just released this, I believe, in May. So it's only been a few months, and now she passed away. Obviously, we already have our conspiracy theorists being like, oh, they're trying to shut her up because she was talking about this, she was talking about that. Now, we're not going to know any of that information, and I guess as the days go by, we're just going to have to wait for her family to talk. But it's incredibly heartbreaking, I'm assuming, for her parents, because her brother actually passed away not that long ago either, and I believe he had like some complications of the heart. And he was super young. So this is crazy. My heart goes out to her family, and I just can't believe it. That being said, Chismosas, obviously this is incredibly hard news. This was somebody that was a part of my childhood. I remember the first time I ever saw her was on Heroes, and I remember thinking, wow, she's a really good actress. Obviously I was younger, but then I found out that she was a younger actress, and that made it even better for me. So I'm curious to know, where was the first place you ever saw her in, and your favorite memories about Hayden Panettiere and the roles that she played. And guys, I don't know what to say. I'm hoping that her family can get some privacy in this time of need, and rest in peace, Hayden.
Multiple reports are stating that Hayden Panettiere, who is only 36 years old, may have passed away from an apparent overdose. Police officers and EMS personnel responded to reports of an unresponsive female. This was at her residence in Greenville, South Carolina at around 1:50 p.m. local time. Authorities were alerted to the medical emergency by a 911 call from a friend of the Scream actress. According to TMZ, first responders attempted to resuscitate Panettiere using advanced cardiac life support, and in addition to CPR, this involved special medicines, breathing tubes, and heart rhythm tracking. all of which failed. Hayden Panettiere passed away on August 16th. While there are a lot of rumors going around about her alleged abusive relationship, it has been stated that the preliminary investigation has not indicated any signs of foul play or suspicious circumstances, and there has been a dispatch audio that has been obtained by multiple outlets, and they did hear allegedly officials discussing an overdose and cardiac arrest around the time of Panettiere's death. The saddest part about all of this is she just released her memoir, This Is Me, and she talked a lot about growing up in the spotlight, exposed some people that were terrible to her, and it was like she was finally using her voice for the first time, being her own person and not just this child who was bossed around. So Hayden Panettiere, rest in peace. She gave us all an amazing childhood.
I am sick to my stomach to tell you that Hayden Panettiere has passed away just days before turning 37. I know the big question is when and how, but it feels really indecent to focus on that rather than her incredible legacy. I'm sure over the next several days you're going to see so many videos and articles about the challenges of her life. So I just want to have one space where we can focus on the joy that she brought to so many of us. That being said, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this video. I'm having a hard time. So let me just remind you that if you are sad, if you are in tears, don't let anyone tell you that that's foolish. This is a person who you have likely spent hours with in your home. So together, we're gonna try to get through this. Hayden started in the industry so young. At 11 months old, she booked a modeling agency. By 4, she landed a reoccurring role on One Life to Live. That really jump-started an outstanding, difficult, but brilliant career. Remember, she voiced A Bug's Life in 1998, and that's crazy because she and I being the same age, I vividly remember knowing who was voicing Dot and being so in awe of this fellow young person who was already doing so much. And for so long, she just didn't stop. Remember the Titans raising Helen, and maybe a little niche, but does anyone remember Tiger Cruise? Ice Princess came in 2005, and the next year, Bring It On, All or Nothing. And I mean, clearly she was meant to be a cheerleader because she became the cheerleader in Heroes. Notably, a little while later, she made her way to Nashville with the role of Juliette. Now, yes, her life was rife with struggles and difficulties, no question, but what I find particularly beautiful is that this industry, which she could have scoffed at as a major contributor to her challenges, she instead found her own way back on her own terms, even appearing this year in Sleepwalker. So personally, I am grateful for the crumping, the rapid cellular regeneration. Woo, I'm gonna lose it, hold on. The numerous moments where her job was hard, but she brought all of us into this wonderful world of make-believe. So let's find the joy, tell me your favorite moment, let's reminisce together. And you guys, I love you. Don't forget how much you matter.
More information is coming out about Hayden Panettiere's death, and it turns out that someone she knew had called 911 around 2 p.m. yesterday to report that she was unresponsive and in cardiac arrest, but we're not sure who that person is. TMZ said they're not sure if it's her on and off again boyfriend, Brian Hickerson, but what we do know is the night before, she and Brian flew from LA to South Carolina, and she was found dead in a South Carolina home. And there's also audio that came out of a responder sending medics to her location saying to perform CPR on somebody who has overdosed. They're also reporting that paramedics tried to do chest compressions but couldn't bring her back, and she was pronounced dead by 2:32 p.m. And to quote the article, police say there are no initial signs of foul play and the circumstances surrounding Hayden's death did not appear to be suspicious. Of course, an autopsy will be performed to determine the cause of her death. Now, I have never spoken up about her relationship with Brian Hickerson, who she was with for 8 years on and off, but she opened up about the fact that she would not be getting back with him because of the fact that he was very abusive to her, and I'm talking physically abusive to her, to the point where not only did he admit it, but he spent time behind bars because of it. I always hoped that she would walk away from this relationship and hopefully have a bright and better future. So again, it really breaks my heart that this is how it ended.
Like we said, Hayden Panettiere was only 36. And while there's still questions surrounding her death, authorities have yet to answer. Today is all about remembering the person behind the headlines. A daughter, a mother, a sister, an actress, a singer, a performer who became part of pop culture. This is Viral, remembering Hayden Panettiere. May she rest in peace.